Okay. I'll just tell you that we've had some electrical interruptions in the yeshuv here for I don't know why. So if for any reason I lose you, I'll sign back in, and you should too, because I'll lose my internet connection. So hopefully that won't happen. It hasn't happened for an hour or so, so hopefully that will be okay. So we'll look for, hopefully we'll have it straight. Okay, with that, we will start our learning today, and we'll start with our blessing. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol hamim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. We are getting ready to celebrate the holiday of Shavuot. Now, just as an aside, I'll announce it later, but starting this Shabbos, Israel and the United States will be, or outside of the land of Israel, we will be on a different Torah reading schedule, because since you have 2 days of Shavuot, your Torah reading for Shavuot, your Torah reading on Shabbos will be a Shavuot Torah reading, whereas ours will be for Parsha Naso. You will have Parsha Naso next week. So we will be out of sync for a little while, but that'll give me an extra week to learn things to share with you, because I'll be a week ahead. And then we will come back together on the parsha of the double parsha of Matot and Maseh. So hopefully look forward to that. But for now, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the holiday of Shavuot from two perspectives. And first, we're going to talk about, hold on one second. And hello to everybody else who just joined us. It's good to see you. Carol, Cheryl, Trudy, everybody. Nice to see you. Marcia. Okay. This holiday, what is it called? It's called Shavuot. Shavuot, which literally means, what does it mean? Yes, eta, it means weeks. Now, I don't know about you, but in thinking of sitting down to brainstorm with the committee on what to call the holiday that celebrates the most amazing day in the history of the world since the creation of the world, of God's revelation on Mount Sinai to the Jewish people and giving us the Torah, I'm not sure I would have, if you would have had a contest for name this holiday, I'm not sure you would come up with, I know, let's call it weeks. So now for us, we who speak mostly English, we don't think about Shavuot being called weeks. But if we called it that, we might find that a little strange. It certainly seems to underestimate, underplay, and misrepresent what the holiday is all about. So this class, this part here is coming from a wonderful shiur from Rabbi Warren Goldstein, who is the chief rabbi of South Africa. And he explains and explores, why is this holiday called Shavuot? So when it's called weeks, we have to ask the obvious question of, okay, given that you're not calling it Matan Torah, which you could have called it, we say that in the Kiddush, we say Zman Matan Toratenu. We say this is the season of the giving of the Torah. So you would think that it could be called Matan Torah. Excuse me, fighting a cold. But it is called Shavuot, which means weeks. Obviously, what are the weeks referring to? They're referring to the weeks that tonight we are counting the very last day of the 49 days, the 7 weeks leading from Pesach until Shavuot, when the Jewish people were on a journey from leaving Egypt and coming to Mount Sinai to receive the Torah. When we call the holiday Shavuot, what we're really saying is that what this holiday is really about, and what receiving the Torah is really about, is about the journey that we have been taking over the past 7 weeks, and the journey that we will continue to take, honestly, until for the rest of our lives. We know that the Torah itself ends before the Jewish people come into the land of Israel. So the entire Torah is the journey, literal journey of the Jewish people. But more than that, the Torah is designed to be the guide for our journey in our life. So how can we kind of understand this? So we noted something that many people may understand from themselves, their own experiences. It says human beings were designed to seek novelty. We want to go new places, see new things, have new experiences. We get bored with the same old, same old. It's not true with animals. Now, if animals eat different foods, it's because God wired into them that for nutritional reasons, they need to have different foods in order for them to be healthy. But cows don't decide that they need to go literally to greener pastures because they're sick of the view through the fence posts of the farm that they have been on. The parakeet doesn't really care where it is. Now, animals might want to have room to run. So, like if you're a horse or a giraffe or an elephant or something like that, they may want room to roam, but it's not because they're seeking someplace new to see or something else to eat that would be a variety. Like, you feed your goldfish that same food every single day for its whole life. And to my knowledge, of course, I don't understand goldfish language, but no goldfish has ever revolted saying, I need something new, I can't stand it. But even a young child will be, even if you keep giving them the same thing every single day to eat, it'll be like, I already had that. Like, why can't we have something different? Like, I need something. We are programmed to seek change. Excuse me. To seek change, to seek novelty, to seek adventure, and to seek something new. And the question is, why did God make us like that? Now, some people actually get shpilkas. They want to travel, they want to see something new. And some people, their desire for newness takes them in the wrong direction. They decide maybe they need a new wife or a new husband because they got bored, or they have to have the latest and greatest of whatever, technology because they're bored with whatever it is that they have. So this desire for newness can take somebody in a very negative direction. However, it was given to us as a gift to seek newness from an internal newness. I apologize. What is it that we really want? It says, really what God did is he designed the human soul to realize that it, in fact, is on a journey during its life, that it came from a far off land. Kind of think of Superman, who came and landed on this earth and came down for an adventure, came down for a journey, came down for something specific to achieve, and is then going to return to the place it came from, which is how we understand our lives, that our neshamas are sent into this world for the journey called life. And while we are here, our job, our responsibility, our opportunity is to constantly seek growth and change, which by definition is an aspect of newness. The trap is that we think that we're supposed to get just new things, or that we're just supposed to go to new physical places. But what it's really designed to do is to tell us, remember, you're on a journey. Don't be like a cow. Don't be just sitting there going over and over again, ruminating literally on the same lifestyle that you've had your whole life without making any improvements, without making any changes, without growth. The key to having a journey is the Torah. It says the Torah is the guide for us to have a healthy journey spiritually, physically, emotionally, as individuals, as a family, as a community, as the world. So that when we talk about what is Shavuot about, and it's talking about the weeks, it's not so much getting the Torah as the reminder as to why we are here in the first place. We are here for the journey. So it makes sense, interestingly, that the spiritual quality for the month of Sivan, which we are now in, is the quality of walking, walking and motion, to be able to move and make changes, to grow, to explore, to deepen, to change our perspective, to deepen our perspective. The key to this, it says that Torah study is the key to creating an ever fresh perspective, which is why we joke, my husband and I, and others as well, that we go to the synagogue for the Torah reading and we look in the Chumash and we see the commentary and we say, I don't remember seeing this before. And it was written on the page, but it's like, I don't remember seeing that before. And we say, oh, they must have just stuck it in. Well, of course, they didn't just stick it in, but you see things differently depending on where we're at. 70 faces to the Torah, 70 ways of understanding each individual letter, each individual word, each individual everything. The potential is actually endless. Our goal is to move from potential to actuality, to take all the potential that God sent us into the world with, and to develop that potential. And that potential, the development of that is a journey. That journey is called Shavuot. These weeks leading up to Shavuot remind us what it's all about, lest we think that it was just arriving at Sinai that was the point. That wasn't the point. The point was the march to it and the march that will continue on afterwards. We get the Torah to kind of pick it up, to take it with us, to help us on our way. When we do that, it says that, we are called Adam. Human beings are called Adam, from the word Adama, which means ground. But it doesn't mean just dirt like schmutz dirt. It means the dirt that things are planted in. It says Adam, Adama represents pure potential. Because what can grow in the ground? What can grow in the ground? Whatever you plant. Whatever you plant. Whatever you tend, whatever you nurture, whatever you harvest. So when we think about B'nai Adam, it says that our goal is to move ourselves from that potential to actuality, that we are here on a journey. So that when we get that yen for, I need to do something new, like I need a new haircut, I need a new handbag, I need a new outfit, I need to go somewhere new, I need to eat something new, I need to just do something new. Those things may all be true, but we're supposed to use it as a message to us to say what needs to be renewed in myself. What's something new that I need to take on, to delve into, to deepen. So it's interesting that in Torah, if you buy something new that, like we say, like wear it in good health, right? If you buy a new outfit, you say wear it in good health or use it in good health, which is a beautiful blessing to say, to give to somebody. But in Hebrew, in Judaism, that's not actually what we say. We say tit chadshi or tit chadesh, which means may you be renewed through this new thing that you have. May it trigger a renewal in you to pursue the true newness that your neshama is actually seeking through the use of this new thing, which is why we buy new things and new clothes and new jewelry and new foods, new things on the holidays, because we want to have our physical environment be a reflection of what we're really seeking spiritually. So if someone thought that what they really needed to do to prepare for Shavuos or Rosh Hashanah or any of the holidays was to just go shopping for a new outfit, they're not wrong to get a new outfit. The problem is stopping with the outfit and forgetting that it's really a sign for what your neshama is craving, which is I want new, deeper, I want a new perspective. I want to look at the Torah. I want to look at my life in a different way, from a deeper place. And that's the freshness that we are seeking so that we don't get stale. Human beings, that we're not animals, we cannot chew on the same grass all the time and be satisfied, since we cannot chew on the same ideas and words and actions without expanding ourselves and growing and changing and blossoming. So there is a phrase that says the a person who is the most happy. It says a happy Jew is a growing Jew, and it's a play on words in the Hebrew, because a happy Jew is sameach and growing is someach with a tzadi. So it says a person who is happy is a person who is growing. And we think about it, that when we learn something new and we master something new, the sense of excitement and enthusiasm that comes with that. So when we come to Shavuos, when we come to Shavuot to celebrate the holiday, we're saying, I'm ready for the journey. I'm ready for the weeks. I'm ready for the preparation I did for those 7 weeks. I'm ready now to pick up my guide for the rest of the journey, to pick up the Torah, delve into it, and learn Torah every day in order to help me with a fresh perspective. So I have to say, I listen to as I'm sure many of you do too, listen to so many different shiurim, so many different classes and speakers and books. And I'm like, and we share this every year. Like we've had our class going back, I don't know, it's been like 30 years. I don't even know how long it's been. Some people have been there for the duration. Some people have come and gone, and it's all amazing. But I remember the very first year we did the parsha, we were meeting in BMH, in the library. And after the first year, when we started the next year, someone said to me, so what are we going to do this year? Like a different topic? And I said, we're going to do the parsha. She said, oh, didn't we do that last year? I said, yes, and God willing, we'll do it till we're 120. That it is infinite. The waters to swim in are infinite, and the pleasure that is designed for us to receive is infinite. So when we want that freshness for our journey, this is to remember we are spiritual beings inhabiting a body for a relatively short time to grow and to change. And those words are from our window washer in Denver, whose wife passed away, and he mourned her deeply. But he said, I'm not totally broken, because I know we are spiritual beings having an earthly experience and will be reunited for eternity. I'm like, you're right. Do you want to come teach the class? So this is exactly right, is to remember we're here on a journey. Shavuot reminds us of that. And God willing, we'll set off on another year to be able to have a successful journey. Okay. So just passing through. So this powerful psychological need that we have, and some people have it more than others. I have friends who they're not happy unless they're planning their next trip, and other people unless they're going on their next something. I'm more of a homebody. I could stay the same. I mean, I'm not staying the same place. I am seeing new things, but it's interesting. But I like to try new food, and have things I get bored. So to take that and realize that this is Hashem speaking to us, telling us what our soul really craves. So it's interesting. We talk about the difference between angels and human beings. So angels, first of all, it's said that they only have 1 foot, which is why when we say the Kedusha during the Shemona Esrei, that we stand with our feet together, touching, as if we only had 1 foot, and we don't move. We go up on our toes when we say Kadosh, 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 but you don't walk around, because it says the Malachim, the angels, as high and lofty as they are omdim. They are standing still. You cannot walk with just 1 leg. And that human beings, we are called holchim. We are the ones who walk. We are the ones who go. We are the ones who journey. We're the ones who move. And those 2 feet are the difference. So while we imitate the angels during Kedusha for a brief time, we're not supposed to stay there. We have to move. So it says the angels don't move because which means they only have 1 purpose. They don't change. They have their purpose and they stay that way. So angels are called Chayot HaKodesh, which basically means holy animals, because they're in a way the same as animals. Animals don't veer off the path, the program that God put into them. Again, the cow doesn't decide, I've had enough of this pasture. I'm breaking out of here. I'm going to go find something new to do. I'm going to get my BA in animal science, and I'm going to improve the situation. It's not an animal thing. So animals and angels are honestly on the same wavelength of being static. It is only the human being, God bless us, God help us, that can move. Because if you can move forward, you can also move backward. And our goal is that this is the gift that God gives us, is I've given you the gift to journey. And I know when you journey, you're going to make mistakes and you're going to have setbacks, but don't worry, just keep going. Just keep moving forward. And if you're on the wrong path, then at least turn around. Turn around. Chag HaShavuot, this beautiful holiday, reminding us of our journey, the journey of our soul, that we are not omdim, we are not standing still. We are the ones who are moving. We are holchim. We are the ones who are walking. Now, what this also leads us to is while we are on this journey, how do we make the choices to do what we do? How can we face the world and the choices that are in front of us without fear, with enthusiasm, with commitment? Because there's a lot of things in the world that conspire to kind of keep us down and to contract us and make us narrow. So we're going to talk about something now, which was in the heading of what I sent to you in my email, which is about how God sees us. Like, do we appreciate how God sees us? So I'm going to share a midrash with you that you might have heard before. But hold on one second. This comes from Rabbi Y.Y. Jacobson. Rabbi Y.Y. Jacobson shares this midrash that says, and we'll go in and explain it. So if you're not familiar with this, it says, if Reuven would have known what Hashem was going to write about him, he would have carried Joseph, his brother, on his shoulders all the way home to his father. And if Aaron, who became the high priest, would have known what God was going to write about him, he would have gone out to meet Moshe. He would have gone out to meet Moses with a band and celebration, cymbals and tambourines to greet him. And if Boaz, who is the one who is going to marry Ruth in the book of Ruth that we will read on Shavuot, if he would have known that God was going to write about him, he would not have given Ruth just parched grain. He would have made her a feast of fatted bulls. Not fatted bulls, fatted calves. He would have made her a huge feast. Who's heard this story before, this midrash? Has anybody heard this? Okay, let's talk about this. What is this talking about? And why do we need to know this? So what's the story? So now, if you want to get out your chumash, we're going to do an exploration here, and then we're going to come back and see what this has to do with us. So we're going to go in chronological order. So we're going to start with Reuven. Reuven, if you want to turn to page 203. By the way, this midrash actually comes from the Talmud in Ketubot 7b. So if anyone's interested in checking out the Talmudic source, it is Ketubot 7b. Okay, Reuven, page 203. We know the story. Joseph's brothers were jealous of him, and they sold him into slavery. However, their first plan was to kill him. That was plan A, because they thought he was trying to ruin the family. They thought he was going to be get rid of the rest of the brothers, and that he was going to assume leadership and push everyone else out. And they decided that he was actually a mortal threat to the family, and they decided that he should be killed. However, the bottom of 203, Reuven heard, and he rescued him from their hand. He said, we will not strike him mortally, verse 21, next page. And Reuben said to them, shed no blood, throw him into this pit in the wilderness, but lay no hand on him. And then it goes like dash, dash, intending to rescue him from their hand to return him to his father. So plan A was, let's kill him. Reuven, who is the oldest son of Yaakov. Okay, Reuven is the oldest. He's the Bechor. He is the would-be leader of the brothers. And they listen to him. They don't kill him. However, then Yehuda says in verse 26, what gain will there be if we kill our brother and cover up his blood? Let's sell him to the Ishmaelites, but let not our hand be upon him, for he is our brother, our own flesh. And the brothers listened to him. Now, what we don't know here is that Reuven was not there when this discussion took place with Yehuda. He was not there. Because what's going to happen is now just skip ahead and then we'll come back. Look on page, verse 29. Verse 29, it says, Reuben returned to the pit, and behold, Joseph was not in the pit. So he rent his garments in mourning. Returning to his brothers, he said, the boy is gone, and where can I go? And then they come up with the plan of dipping the tunic in the blood of the goat and taking it back to their father, Yaakov. What happened? What happened? Reuben should have, as the leader of the brothers, said, what are you thinking? What are we thinking? And he should have said, absolutely not. We're not doing this. And I'm returning Yosef to our father. End of the story. But he didn't do that. He just he did a more minimal action. So thank God they didn't kill him. So how does God record it in the Torah? God says, going back to page 203, verse 21, Reuben heard and he rescued him from their hand. That Reuben rescued him. Did he rescue him? Kind of, but not really, because in the end he gets sold into slavery into Egypt. Why didn't Reuben act more forcefully? What was the problem? So Reuben has a complicated story. He is someone that we found out that after Rachel died, Yaakov moved his bed into Rachel's maidservant's tent. Reuven was offended as the son of Leah, and he moved his father's bed to Leah's tent. And Yaakov got very angry with him for messing with that and basically said, you're impetuous and I can't, you're acting wrong. So he was already a little bit on shaky ground in the family. He also thought maybe his brothers would think he was a coward and just wouldn't stand up for the decision that they had made as a group. It's not easy to stand alone. All the brothers made a decision and you're already been told there's some question about you. You maybe don't have the ability to stand up. Also, he knew that Joseph was his father's favorite. So was there something in his psyche that thought maybe it wouldn't be so bad if Yosef doesn't exactly return home? Exactly. Whatever it was, consciously or subconsciously, he did not act with full intention. However, he did save him from being killed. And how does God record that? He records it as, and he rescued them from their hand. So now you're Reuven. You don't know at the time that this is going into the Torah. Think about days you've had where you did something good or pretty good, kind of good. But if you would know that somebody was recording it and writing it up for posterity and eternity, might you have done it a little differently? said, had he known that God thought what he did was great and was proud of him for going as far as he did, he would have had the strength to go even farther and really rescue him. It wasn't like, well, if I knew it was going to be on the front page, then I would have, I would have done the right thing. It was, he would have been strengthened knowing that it would be recorded. It would have given him the courage, the energy to follow through. So now let's take a look at the next one. Aaron. When Aaron comes out to meet Moses on page 309. Page 309, remember that Moshe is arguing with God about not being the one who should go to Pharaoh to free the Jews, right? So he's going on and on and on. And if you turn to page 309, verse 14, at the bottom, it's the last line there, chapter 4, verse 14. The wrath of Hashem burned against Moshe, and he said, is there not Aaron, your brother, the Levite? I know that he will surely speak. Moreover, behold, he is going out to meet you, and when he sees you, he will rejoice in his heart. You shall speak to him and put the words in his mouth, and I shall be with your mouth and with his mouth, etc., etc. And then it says, in fact, when Aaron does come out, page 313, verse 27, Hashem said to Aaron, go to meet Moshe to the wilderness. So he went and encountered him at the mountain of God, and he kissed him. Okay, he hasn't seen him for 40 years. He saw him and he kissed him. We know he was happy in his heart. What happened? Why did he have such a nice to see you? Like you just, you kiss your relative at the airport when you pick them up and you saw them last week. Oh, it's so good to see you. I haven't seen you for 40 years. Thank God you're here. It's amazing. Why didn't Aaron really go all out and welcome his brother back? Say, I'm so happy for you. It says he was happy, but he was happy in his heart, and there was something that held him back. Like maybe it wasn't seemly. Maybe it would seem like, I don't know, there was just something there that just kept him from giving it his all. So now we have Reuven, who doesn't give it his all, Aaron, and these are wonderful people, who doesn't give it his all. And now our third person is Boaz. So now we're going to turn to the back of the Chumash to the book of Ruth. On page 1200 and I think it's 1270. 1270. Hold on a second, I just need to let somebody in here. 1270. Boaz is going to do the very generous thing of giving Ruth food. Ruth has come back with Naomi. They are impoverished. Ruth is gleaning in the fields of Boaz, and Boaz takes an interest in her. And he sees how modest she is, and he's heard about her. So go to chapter 2, verse 14, which is the bottom of the page on 1270. And it says, at mealtime, Boaz said to her, come over here and partake of the bread and dip your morsel in the vinegar. So she sat beside the harvesters. He handed her parched grain, and she ate and was satisfied and had some left over. It's like, Boaz and Ruth, do you know where this story is going? And he gives her parched grain. If you knew that you were meeting the person who was destined to be, the great grandmother of King David, the mother of Mashiach, royalty, you'd say, here's some popcorn. It'd be like, if I would have known, not like, oh, to look good, this doesn't really read well. If I would have known how important this moment really was, and that God thought it enough to write it into the story, I would have had the energy to do more. Now, why didn't Boaz do more? Said for him, it was really considered that it might be unseemly. What would people say? So if we think about what keeps us from committing totally to something, With Reuven, it was going against the crowd, going against your brothers when they had made a decision. They were going to do something wrong, and he wanted to do something right, but he didn't quite have the courage to do that. This is the pressure that happens in a jury room. When people making voting on a jury, and like everyone's voting in one direction, and you're like the holdout. It's a very difficult place to be. With Aaron, it was, I don't know, something in him that wasn't quite lined up. And with Boaz, it was like, I'm an 80-year-old man. She's a 40-year-old gorgeous woman. What are people going to say if do you see Boaz? He like took out this big spread for that girl over there. Yak, 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 yak. Like, what would people say? So he just gave her some parched corn. Nobody can say anything about that. So what would people say? Now, while we do have, even in halacha, we have what's called ma'arit ayin, which means that we are concerned with how our actions appear to others. We do have to be concerned that people draw the wrong conclusions. Don't draw the wrong conclusions. That being said, that cannot be the place that we are acting from when it becomes something significant. He saw how great she was, but did not go the distance. So it says in each of these cases, had Reuven known that it would be written about him, had Aaron known it was going to be written about him, had Boaz known, each of them would have gone the distance, not because they didn't want to be embarrassed by what was written, but because they would be strengthened by seeing that Hashem wrote it in their baby book. Now, think about a new parent. Now, if you have had a first child or you were a first child, I'm guessing you had or somebody did for you a baby book that made note of every single blessed thing that you did on your way to growing up. The first time they looked like they were smiling. The first time they made a sound that sounded kind of like a word. The first time they rolled over. The first time they did all of these things. And you look back at, I remember I had like a list of like the 50 words that Audrey said. By the time Benjamin got there, it wasn't like by the 10th child, it was by the second child. His book ended, I don't know, with a photograph of him at some small age. He's like, didn't I do anything? And I'm like, you did, but I was busy by then. It's like, can you imagine that Hashem has a baby book for all of us? It's like, oh, Reuven, you tried to save your brother. I'm so proud of you. I'm writing it down. I want you to know how great that was. I wish you would have gone farther, but I'm so glad you did what you did. Aaron, you were so happy in your heart. I'm so proud of you. You could have been so jealous as the older brother, the leader of the Jewish people, and you stepped aside for your baby brother. We know how it is in family. You can be 80 years old and you're still the baby brother if you're the baby brother. My baby sister is, she's 7 years younger than me. She's 63. She's the baby sister. But you were so happy. I'm so proud of you. You were happy in your heart, and I know it, and I appreciate it. And if you would have known that I knew and I'm here standing over you and I see everything that you're doing, you would have had the energy to go extra. And Boaz, you took this young girl, this Moabite girl, who is, forbidden to really associate with the Moabites. And you took her and you brought her in and you gave her food. And she said, it said in there that she was satisfied and she had extra. It wasn't like you gave her a small bowl of popcorn. You gave her enough food. That's wonderful. And from that act of kindness and generosity, we're going to build the kingdom, the kingship of David HaMelech, of King David, and Mashiach is going to come from you. I'm so proud of you. And Boaz is like, oh my God, if I would have realized that you were so proud of me and that you saw me like that, I would have done more. So it's not like, oh, I don't want to be embarrassed because it's like humiliating, I didn't do enough. It's like, I didn't realize, God, that you cared so much and that you saw my potential and that you see me that way. I would have done more. So there's a beautiful phrase. Yes, Patricia, did you have a comment? You want to unmute?
Well, I'm kind of having trouble with the fact that things turned out like they should have. For example, when Joseph says it was all for a reason that I ended up here. And even though I know that those individuals' behavior could have been much better. You kind of wonder sort of with the predestiny and stuff. So
It's an excellent question. It's an excellent question. And we always have that. We always have our free choice interacting with what was meant to be. So for sure, as Joseph said, what was meant to be, it happened the way it was meant to be. And that being said, there may have been other ways that it could have also been meant to be. It could have been that they would have gone down to Egypt in a different way without that suffering. I mean, Hashem works with whatever, kind of like whatever we dish out. That's the beauty of this interactive system, is we can't ultimately thwart the system. It's the destiny will unfold, and it can take different paths. So what would have happened? What would have happened had Reuben really rescued his brother? There might have still been a famine in the land of Canaan, in the land of Israel, to force going down to Egypt. And so they could have ended up there, but they could have ended up there as a family unit without the strife of the separation and coming back together again. It could have, there were, just think of even like those choose your own adventure books, where in the end, it always works out, but how you got there are many options for how that could go. So there's plan A, B, and C. And the person who makes the choice, it could have been, anything could have happened. It could have been that Reuben would save him, but he'd be abducted by somebody else, like, some random, whatever, pirate type of person. Anything could have happened. There were other ways that it could have happened. After the fact, we always say it happened the way it was meant to happen, because it comes to the conclusion that Hashem wants, which is a great blessing. It means, like, I know it's in Christianity, they say it, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. God's plan is going to be fulfilled, and we cannot derail it. We can throw up all sorts of obstacles, but in the end, we cannot derail it because it's the divine plan. With Boaz, he might have decided that he wanted to just outright marry Ruth without her having to sneak down and go down to the threshing floor and have that whole kind of interesting, strange encounter. There's lots of ways that could have happened as well had he made his intentions known. But first of all, again, he's an 80-year-old man. Do you think he's going to really approach, even if she was Jewish and not a Moabite? Do you think an 80-year-old man is going to approach a 40-year-old young woman and start, flirting with her and say, hey, you want to get married? It's like not appropriate. He was the leader of the generation. So there's all sorts of things that are, it's not that the people's perspectives were wrong. Reuben was probably correct to think that his brothers would think he was a coward, or that they wouldn't listen to him in the end because they had decided. Aaron was probably at some level correct to not overdo it with Moshe because the people might respond poorly. And Boaz was probably correct at some level to not go all out with Ruth. However, there is this margin that we all have in everything we do, that if we realized that the divine eye was on us, not from a punitive place, because in the Haftorah for Shabbat HaGadol, let's turn to this. The Haftorah for Shabbat HaGadol is, hold on a second, well, let's turn to it. It's at the back also of the Chumash. Page 1220. Haftorah Shabbat HaGadol. This is from the prophet Malachi. And go down to verse 16, chapter 3, verse 16. Then those who fear Hashem spoke to one another, and Hashem listened and heard it. It was inscribed before him in a book of remembrance of those who fear Hashem and meditate upon his name. People were talking just to each other. What were they talking about? people who have Yirat Shamayim, people who have awe of God. It doesn't even say what they were saying. They were speaking with one another, and Hashem listened and heard it. That Hashem is listening, kind of like Alexa. Say, Hashem is listening to what we say, and he's writing it down. But unfortunately, we have in our minds that it's like Santa's list of who's been naughty and who's been nice, and it's going to be used as evidence against us. It's like, oh, he's making note of what we did, so be careful because you need to know there's like an eye that sees and an ear that hears, and I'm writing down everything. It's like, oh my God, like I feel like so nervous because I'm being watched like that. But it's not that. It's now how it's become common to people say when people are feeling marginalized, what does everyone say? I see you and I hear you. And I take note of your experience. That is a totally different understanding that I'm collecting evidence to use against you. It's, I see you and I appreciate you and I know your heart. So Reuven, I'm going to write down that you saved your brother because that's what you were on the way to do. You tried and you did speak up, and I value that. And Aaron, I know you were happy in your heart, even if it didn't totally manifest out loud. You kissed him and it wasn't like a band, but I know you love him and you overcame an incredible personal challenge to do that. And Boaz, you were trying to act with sneers. You were trying to act modestly and appropriately for someone of your stature and to be respectful. And you fed her and you took an interest in her. I appreciate that. So if they would have known how it was going to be written, they would have been like, I could do more. So it's coming to tell us, like, we need to know. So it says, this is very interesting. I hadn't ever heard this before. It said it used to be, this is from the Yalkut Shimoni, a person used to do a mitzvah and a Navi, a prophet, would write it down. He did a mitzvah, a prophet would write it down. But now we don't have any prophets. So who's writing it down? It says now Eliyahu Hanavi and the Mashiach are writing it down. They're writing it down in our baby book, and it's going to be like presented like, your kid graduates high school and you're like, and here's all the things I kept from you. Like we had a friend who made like this beautiful display in their house of like fabric swatches from the kids' favorite pajamas and from their blanket and from their t-shirt from their little league, whatever. And they framed it. It was beautiful. And they put it up on the wall like, this is my child. The kid is probably thinking, oh, vey, like, why do you have to put that all up there? But from a parent, it's like, I love you. I love you. That's what we need to know, that when I'm going to cry, that we're on this journey is Hashem loves us and is making note, not collecting evidence against us, but wants us to know how precious we are. And we're supposed to do that for other people. It says it is important. It is so important to tell other people. So now this is really interesting. In Psalm 145, which is called Ashrei, which we say 3 times a day, never heard this perspective of it. This might be a Hasidic perspective, I think. I'm not sure. It's not mine. In the Psalm Ashrei, in the Women's Siddur, it's on various places, but it's on page 116, 117. One of the verses is, Lehodia livnei ha'adam grotav, uchvod hadar malchuto. And it's translated as to inform human beings of his, meaning his, capital H, God's mighty deeds and the glorious splendor of, quote, of capital H, his kingdom. But he is saying to interpret it from a different perspective also, which is Lehodia livnei adam grotav, to make known, to inform human beings of their mighty deeds and the glorious splendor of their kingdom, of how great the human being is. To tell a child, to tell a friend, you did that. I see you and I hear you, and I make note of that. I appreciate who you are. And you may not have, people think like, oh, everyone knows like so-and-so, they did a good job. They know they did a good job. I don't need to tell them. It's like, Yeah, actually they do because people don't know. If somebody as great as Reuven, someone as great as Aaron, Kohen Gadol, Boaz, the scion of the Davidic dynasty, if they needed an extra boost, it's like, oh, if they would have known, if they would have been informed, they would have stepped up even more. Everybody needs to know. It says we do everyone a huge favor when we share that with them to make known to them their greatness, the gevura, the greatness that they have, and how magnificent they are. Because why does Hashem want us to tell other people? Because there's not a Navi right now. There's not a prophet right now who's going to tell each one of us. And so we are God's spokespeople in this world. So this is like the opposite of on the New York subways where it says, if you see something, say something. This is to the good. If you see something, say something. If you hear something, say something. If you notice something, say something. Lehodia livnei Adam. And it says specifically livnei Adam, which means the children of man, going back to the idea of Adamah, the children of potential, the children of who are made up of ground, of earth, who have so much potential, but they don't know. One of the things that's interesting in gardening, not that I'm a big gardener, sometimes it's hard to know what are the plants and what are the weeds unless you know what you're doing. And if you see, like, oh, you have this quality, I see that potential in you. Let's nurture that. My mother, Aleha Shalom, was a master at that. She saw everyone's potential and told them, you should be doing this because you have this great whatever skill, talent, ability, whatever it is. Remember one time, not this was so amazing, but I remember one time is at Starbucks in University Hills, and the barista was calling out the orders like, whatever, like Ellen, whatever, latte, whatever, grande, whatever, come pick it up. He had the most beautiful voice, like a voice that should be like on stage. And I was sitting there after I had my coffee and everything, and I thought, I'm going to tell him. So I got back in line. He's like, is everything okay? I said, yeah. I said, I just want you to know you have a beautiful voice. I hope you're always able to use it for good things. He was like, oh, thank you. Like, does he know that he have a good voice? I don't know. Did anyone else ever tell him? I don't know. But if you see something, you hear something, say something. Lehodia livnei Adam, to make known to the children of potential how great their strengths are and how wonderful the radiance is of their royalty. We're coming to Shavuot. We will stand at Matan Torah. I'm standing at Har Sinai to receive the Torah. The Torah, we are elevated at that point. It says at Har Sinai, it said it's like we went back to square one. Sins were forgiven. It says people physically healed, all of the physical ailments were healed, cured, and we stood in our pure essence, which is probably why we could stand ki ish echad b'lev echad, as one person with one heart. Now, this was not from Rabbi Y.Y. Jacobson, but it occurred to me that the rabbis always make a very big deal about saying that we stood at Har Sinai ki ish echad b'lev echad. I'm like, and then what happened? Like, how did we get there? And then how did we lose that? What was it that was being experienced there that allowed us to tap into that oneness? Truly, when we recognize the essence of every single person and their greatness, then it's not just like I tolerate you. I have infinite respect and love for you, and we could stand together. It says like the Jewish people were letters of the Torah. It says we can come together, we can form words, we can form sentences, we can form a Sefer Torah. We can form an actual Sefer Torah. The Jewish people are supposed to be the embodiment of a Sefer Torah. We can only do that if I am as disparaging of your letter, or I don't even think you are a letter, can happen. what the Jewish people saw at Sinai was truth. When they saw that, it allowed them to be ki ish echad b'lev echad. It's just very hard to hang on to, which we know, because it says like, we know they were squabbling beforehand because before the Torah is given, that's when Yitro comes. And it says that he tells Moshe, like, you can't lead like this, like adjudicating all of these issues for everybody. What were the issues? They were halachic issues, but they were also disputes. You sat on my tent pin or something. I don't know what it was. Neighborly squabbles. But when they got to Har Sinai, it was Keish Echad B'Lev Echad, because now I see reality. And that reality, once seen, is actually, it's imprinted on us. And every once in a while it breaks through and we can see it. And then it gets covered up. So I wanted to share with you some things that happened just in this week alone since we've been back. That were true, like the Jewish people are amazing. So one of them was the picture that I sent was the Sefer Torah. That was written in memory of it's either 14 or 17, I think it was 14 alumni of Yeshiva Shalavim who have been killed since October 7th. And the Torah was written for them and their families were there, including the family that we had met at the Torah mantle ceremony at the Kotel already the first year after October 7th. The boy who was killed, who we had connected with his parents, I didn't know until last night or the night before. I didn't know that he had that he has a twin. And the idea of like losing your twin brother in that way was just so much more painful and powerful. This family, interesting, I shared it at the time, but the father's name is Yehuda and the mother's name is Tamar, from the ones who create, and their sons, David and Shalom, who was the one who was killed, they were born on Erev Shavuot. So David HaMelech, King David, his birth and his yortzeit are on Shavuot. So it was very intense, and it was like a wedding. It was like a wedding and Simchas Torah all together, and these families dancing with the Torah mantle that has each of the names of the boys embroidered onto it. And it was joyful and intense and amazing and sweet and sad and all of it together, because it was all family. It was like, do these people know? Everybody's like, no, we didn't know them. I mean, I met the parents, but of the boys, but that was it. And yet it's just everybody's heart. Everyone gave their full heart and attention to this. It was so beautiful. So that was one experience. The other experience was that it was more like about who was like the Jewish people and living in the land of Israel. The other picture I sent was of the wheat fields at Shalavim, where our son's yeshiva is. They observe the laws of Shemitah. And so the fields of wheat there are considered like glatt kosher for kosher matzah. So there is an idea of cutting the wheat by hand, like with a sickle, like just like a hand sickle, not like a combine thing that comes through. And so there were people dressed in their Shabbos clothes, black pants, white shirts, suits, hats, the whole thing, to go and cut the wheat for matzah. So it'll be the matzah for the shmura matzah for this coming Pesach. It's like, seriously, the Jewish people like to get dressed in your finery to go cut wheat for your matzah, because that's what a holy thing. So our son went down to do that, and today he took his kids down to go see the people coming to cut before the combines came in and like made short shrift of the rest of the field. It's very powerful. The third thing was in shul on Shabbos, this past Friday night, we have a small minyan. There's probably like 40 people there, but it's a Carlebach minyan, and so it's very lively and singing and really beautiful. And there was a young man who was leading the davening who lives here in the yeshuv. Right now, he's maybe 20 years old. He's in the army, so he was there with his big gun, but he was leading the service, and he has a magnificent voice. He's a great Torah reader, sweet, sweet, sweet boy. I'm sitting in the women's section, and all of a sudden there's like some commotion. One of the women, who actually is our downstairs neighbor, collapsed. So, of course, everyone rushes. I wasn't sitting right next to her, so some other people came. This boy, Noam, who was leading the davening, throws off his tallis because it turns out, in addition to being in the army, he's also a medic. So he throws off his tallis. Somebody else picks it up and continues with the davening because it's kind of embarrassing to be, splashed out on the floor, collapsed. So they just continue the davening. Noam comes around and he's attending to this woman. They call the Hatzalah, which we have an ambulance here. After he's with her and she's okay, not okay, but stable, he goes back and puts the tallis back on and continues singing whatever the song is. And then the Hatzalah person comes in. He takes his tallis off again, goes back around and gives the details and all of her vitals and everything to make sure she's okay. And then the Hatzalah people take her to the hospital. And then he goes back to finish the davening. I'm like, who are these people? Like, I'm just standing there kind of like, am I supposed to do something? Like, I don't know what to do. But here's like 20-year-old, he's like, the gun, singing, davening, medic, save the Jewish people, be sweet. And then afterwards he got all flushed. I said, no, I said, what strengths you have, your beautiful voice in davening. You helped Esther, you're defending the country. I was like, and he's just like, like, he was like, yeah, okay. It's like this like big buff guy. He's like this very, very, slight person who looks like the gun weighs more than he does. Mikam Chai Yisraels, who like the Jewish people. Unbelievable. I'm like, what a pleasure to live here and see this. So anyway, tell people their strengths, but mostly to know for ourselves that Hashem has your baby book, and it's not stopping when you were 6 months old and you're not the fifth child. To Hashem, everybody is first and only child and is looking to see. And God willing, when we have that attitude and we can say that we're going to come to Shavuot to celebrate the journey that we are on, the journey that we are continuing on with either even greater energy, greater commitment, greater focus, we will be blessed between those two ideas of Hashem is making note in this writing about us as we walk this journey. And my desire to do something new and different and to have novelty is Hashem telling me is your neshama needs something more. Please take care of her on your journey through this life. God willing, we will stand at Har Sinai. We will have Matan Torah. We receive the Torah on Shavuot and have a festive, joyful holiday and celebrate as we move forward in the next steps of our journey. They should all be in good health and happiness. Thank you for bearing with my croaky throat. Just happens when we travel. But Baruch Hashem, doing fine. So thank you so much. And I'll look forward to seeing you next week.
Thank you. It was
Thank
great.
you, Ellen.
That was a great class. Feel
Thank you.
better.
Thank you.
Yes, before
Charcoal with warm salt water. The
Yes.
only thing that helps. Okay.
Thank you.
Take care. Have a good holiday.
Be well, everybody.
Do well in
Ellen,
Israel. Be safe.
Ellen, refuah shlema, I'm sick too, and hot liquids help much more than